is important. Taking care of your mental health is important because I have been on the downside of mental health. Years ago, I was diagnosed with major depressive disorder, and I honestly think it started after I gave birth to my first child. I was 30 years old at the time, and I was in denial for about 3 years before I actually sought treatment in earnest for depression. Let's just say it wasn't a good feeling at all. And being in a really low place when you have depression, it gave me the motivation to seek treatment and to get better. Mental health is just one of my advocacies. Another one of my advocacies is to teach psychology, especially now in these unprecedented times where there's a worldwide pandemic. Mental health is one of those things that is turning out to be actually very precious. And it seems like everybody needs to look for each other. In any case, my message would be hang in there, we're gonna go get through this. Take it one day at a time. And know that having a routine, no matter how silly it sounds, is actually your best protection against isolation, against loneliness. Also, do not hesitate to reach out. Contact your friends if you feel like you need to talk to somebody. Please reach out. Huwag na kayo mag-antayan.
For me, mental health is very, very important because when we experience positive mental health, it can actually do wonders for our lives. It means that we're able to cope with stresses in our lives in a more positive way, but also we learn how to look past all the stress factors that we experience on a regular basis. So it's really important to look after our mental health, but also being aware that mental health is something that includes our emotional as well as our psychological and social well-being. So it's something that not just affects us, but also affects the people around us, the people we interact with. This includes work colleagues, people on the street that you might bump into, or for example, people in the store, or family members, relatives, partners, and things like that. So the way that we handle stresses in our lives, but also the decisions that we make every day, impact these relationships, these small relationships, but also our relationship with ourselves. So it's really important for me to make sure that I'm honest, I'm vocal, I'm communicative, but also I'm inclusive, empathetic, and all these sorts of things, because I am aware that the way I respond to other people could also impact them.
I think that in doing so, it helps us stay focused, grounded, also centered and calm. And I think that these are important to have in our day-to-day life, in our functions, in our tasks, as well as in our interactions with people. Also in the service that we do for others in community and society. And I think it's especially important when we are faced with difficult situations, challenges, trials. It determines how we handle stress, which is there in our day-to-day life. So I think that paying attention to ourselves in terms of our mental health, our emotional, psychological, social well-being will spell the difference between having positive relationships, positive outputs, and overall well-being. And so I'm grateful that people are starting to pay more and more attention to mental health. Grounded, I think it's something that we need to give importance to also when we think about our total and whole well-being.
Our mental health is important to both of us because if we don't look after our mental health, we have a deterioration in our lifestyle. You can have all different types of mental illness, like from mild depression, which you can just treated by psychologists, right through to the major ones of bipolar and schizophrenia, which need medication. Not dealt with, we lose our motivation to live, to do our interests and activities, and then our life starts to become dysfunctional with our family and our friends, and then it goes on further. If we keep going down further, we go dysfunction in our work, and then we end up losing our work, and then we lose our personal security, and then we get homeless. So it just keeps going. It's an endless cycle. It could end up causing us to do crime and end up in jail. So our mental illness is very important to you. It's just the same as your physical illness. If you have asthma, you need a puffer. If you have a broken arm, you need to get it treated in a sling. And if you have high blood pressure, you need medication. So your mental illness is just the same. It's not a weakness. It's just the same as any physical illness.
Most of all, I think having a good mental health is necessary for you to feel good and enjoy life.
You can have it through having a good diet, having a Mediterranean diet, or just eating unprocessed
Yeah,
foods.
regular exercise and meditation. Best of all, I think having good mental health is really good for you to enjoy doing the things you love doing, and being able to be good and kind and loving to the people who matter most in your life.
Your mental well-being can make or break your life. When you combine mental health and the strength of human spirit, many miracles can happen in your life. Personally, I am aware that my mental health greatly affects me, so as much as possible, I try to be sensitive to it. I try to listen to my inner self, the self that I often take for granted. On really bad days, everything can be so bleak, turn into negative, and even feel worrisome of the future, whether it's the next hour, the next day, or even the next year. On good days, I am able to bounce back with a healthy perspective and also have a sense of fulfillment for the day, even if things did not go well. Being conscious of my mental state and understanding of my challenges enables me to move forward, sometimes even from hour to hour. And sometimes there are days also when it's okay not to be okay. I'm not my mind, but having a better understanding of what goes on in my head, especially the self-talk, enables me to better manage myself. It creates options of how to respond, options that I would otherwise not have realized I have. In different situations, my mental health can paint a world bleak, but it can also paint a colorful and happy world. This way of life that I am building. I am still learning to be more intentional with my thoughts, actions, and plans. And through this all, I remind myself to be kind and not judgmental with me, especially on me. And that I am not alone. I have my God and the supportive people He has blessed me with.
I think caring for your mental health or your mental well-being is very similar and should be just as important as caring for your physical body. Like how you dress, how you would care for how you dress, or how you appear for others, how you be conscious of what you feed your body, and also how you exercise it. I think this is just as true for one's mental well-being. I also think that the state of one's mind is very much connected and linked to the state of one's spirit and one's heart. And although these are things that are invisible to the eye, but these are things that ought to be acknowledged, and these are things that define who one is. And it's important that we are able to sit with our truest selves, right? The good and not so good about us, the things we are proud to bring to the light, but also the things that we'd rather keep in the shadows. To all these have to be acknowledged at some point and recognized and dealt with properly, and it is part of just keeping a healthy and good mental state. And it's more, and it goes beyond self-love. It goes beyond just the self and because if you can sit well with yourself to a certain extent, I think all the more can you be better in loving others too. So there's a ripple effect in that. And so much more I know can be said about taking care of your mental health, but those are the things that are top of mind for now.